The following is a presentation of the Control Trends Podcasting Network.
You're listening to Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings Podcast.
With the man, the myth, the legend, Ken Smyers and Eric Stromquist.
Control Talk Now, the weekly podcast with building automation and smart building control news you can use.
Now, here's Eric.
Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to episode 337 of Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending November 3rd. 2019, folks. That's right. It's November already. It's cold in Atlanta. And as usual, with cold weather, sometimes that means that your co-host of mine, the man, the myth, the legend, secret agent man, Kenny Smyers, shows up missing. And that is the case this week, ladies and gentlemen. Kenny Smyers, secret agent man, is missing. My guess is he's gone someplace warm. But others think he might have gone someplace cold like Canada or something because he tends to face the pain. He doesn't like cold, so sometimes he'll just embrace it. So where in the world is Kenny Smyers? To help us suss through this, we have two people that are stepping in, trying to fill the big moccasins of Kenny Smyers. We've got the team from Next Generation Innovation, Aaron Gorka and Brent Burrows. Guys, thanks for stepping in and welcome to the show.
Absolutely, Eric. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, well,
always happy to be on the show.
Well, awesome, dude. Awesome. Well, and Kenny talked about cold weather, but Aaron, man, I mean, you're up in Canada someplace. Aren't you riding on a sled or something, which is why we don't have your video? Aren't you like doing a dog race or something right now?
We're cruising in a big old truck, fighting through about 4 feet of snow, heading down just down the lake to my in-laws today.
So you're going to the in-laws then? All right. Well, there you go. And you're up in Toronto, right? Or up around that way?
Yeah, up around this way. There's actually no snow. The leaves are just changing, falling off. The combination of beautiful colors and winter coming, basically. Well,
dude, you'll definitely have to, since we don't have your video and you can't put the camera out the window and show us, snap a couple of pictures of those leaves changing, and we'll post them on the website when we drop the episode.
That I can do, no problem.
Yeah, and I tell you what now, for all you professional football fans, I had the pleasure of seeing Brent Burrows from Ntek's young son. I thought his name was Eric Burrows. I was really disappointed to find out you named him something other than Eric. But, man, he's a big kid. He's going to be playing for Clemson here pretty soon, isn't he?
I don't know about that. We'll see what he decides to get into. On the subject of the fall weather and the football, you may not be able to see here. I don't have any front lighting.
Right.
I just went through a move, it was actually in the last month. So I'm still trying to get everything going. The fact I was able to sit down and do all this, it's nice. It's a little relaxing, especially with the 5-month-old. But I'm wearing a hat right now. Doesn't color in very well. It's the Cleveland Browns. Now we've been taking it on the chin here at the beginning part of the season. But you know what they say, iron sharpens iron. So
yeah,
Browns faces should be pretty tough from getting rubbed in it.
Yeah.
But we got the path. We're going to finish 9-7, and we will see you guys at when's the Super Bowl, Eric?
February 2nd, same night as the Control Trends Awards, buddy.
There you go. We're going to have the Control Trends Awards and then watch the Browns win the Super Bowl. February 2nd. Well,
I tell you what, Aaron, that sounds like I know you're Canadian and all, but I think that sounds like a pretty sure bet going opposite Brent on that one if you want to take up that action. Maybe our community does.
Shock the world.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Yeah.
Got you. That would probably be like put down $1,000 to win 10.
Yeah, no, I got you, brother. For our audience might know, Brent's dad and my Patrick Burrows go way back. Ntek's been one of Stromquist's long-term customers, partners, great relationship. And, your dad was originally from Cleveland, right? And he moved down to Atlanta, in the late 70s, early 80s?
Yep, late 70s. I think that was kind of the story. He got stuck in traffic. His floorboards froze over. The heat didn't work in his car. I think it was like negative 10, negative 12. And he was just like, I got to get out of here. He didn't know anybody down here. He just, that was the thing. He was like, hey, got this job in Georgia. He said, does it snow down there? He said, not really. He said, okay.
I'm coming.
I'll go.
I'm coming. Well, Brent, for our community might not know, tell them about Ntek and what you guys do, the company your dad started, and then sort of, how you got into it and what you guys are up to these days.
I gotcha. So my dad started, as it was mentioned earlier, he came down here in the late 70s, been involved in the HVAC control industry. Since that time, he started Ntek in 1994. Started primarily on the commercial retail side of things, mostly mechanical service work. Kind of migrated that into, I guess, doing like national building commissioning and energy management, working with a number of large retail customers. And more recently, we've, in the last 10, 15 years, been working more big projects around the area, chiller replacements, and anything on the mechanical side. And the controls division has kind of grown out of that over the same time period, last 10 years. So we're big, Tritium, Honeywell, Distech, anybody that's got the greatest products that'll serve our customers best.
Yeah, any products that Stromquist and company handles, because we handle the greatest products, right? So
yeah, exactly.
You don't have to look any farther than Stromquist.com to know what the greatest products are.
That's right. That newly revitalized website.
Yeah, there you go, brother. There you go. No, but I love it. Your dad is, in your company, your dad is, first of all, one of the funniest guys I've ever met. Your dad's hilarious, but he's also one of the brightest guys I've ever met. And your dad had an interesting, I think he still does, an interesting philosophy, which is when the customer says something to him, he says, if you want it painted blue, I'll paint it blue. If you want it painted red, I'll paint it red. And it seems like that's sort of at the core of your guys' business philosophy, is giving the customers not only what they need, but what they want.
Well, I think that's if you look at it, I mean, Eric, you're the master sales person guru. You've taken every type of sales training all over the world. You've talked to me about it, and I'm just like, oh my God, for real. Well, what was it? The one, it was like, I need you. You have to go sell this book.
Oh,
but like it was a horrible, like, it was basically a no-win situation.
Yeah. No, well, I think it's, sales is really about communication, and I've always said that sales is the easiest job in the world to do poorly and the most difficult to do right. And when I first got in the business, when your dad was around, I mean, it was like, salespeople sort of had this, you were trained, you had this attitude that I'll tell you what to think, and it was all about manipulation and control. And that didn't last very long. People don't like that. And then it swung to, now most salespeople are so lame, they just will do whatever. They just get abused, right? Because they're so afraid of offending somebody. So you sort of have to find that middle ground where you can help people buy something. I mean, think about it. When you've bought something, have you ever said, I'm so happy this person sold me something, versus, well, this person helped me buy? So, I mean, that's a sort of a subtle distinction, but, and I think, Aaron, you could probably chime in on that, because you definitely are really good at helping people buy stuff and good at the sales game as well.
Yeah, it's all about making a friend. Every time I go into basically anywhere, it's about saying hello and hi, I'm Aaron, with a big smile, and honestly just figuring out what what makes them tick to begin, I think, and figure out what they want to accomplish and how, right? Ultimately, I just try to make a friend with them, and even if they don't buy it right off the bat, it does, or they don't use it in the future, it doesn't change a friendship ultimately.
No, I think you're right. And I think persistence is another big part of it, because I remember, for example, back in the day before Landis and Gear became part of Siemens, the Landis and Gear guy had done something really upset me as a vendor. And so I just basically said, we'll never sell it again. That's it. We're taking off the line sheet. We're never going to deal with it. And this guy came by, Aaron, reminded me a little bit of you, a guy named Jim Fisher. And Jim, if you're out there, kudos to you. Jim this is just a great story about how it works. I'm livid at Landis and Gear, saying I'm never buying it again. Jim comes in and introduces himself. He goes, well, tell me what happened. I told him. He goes, well, look, I can totally see why you're upset and why you would never want to buy from us again. Would you have any objections if I came by, periodically and, brought your counter people some donuts and stuff like that? Would that be okay? I said, yeah, I'm not going to tell my counter people I turned down donuts for him. So this guy he would literally come in every Friday. He would spend time with the counter people, the inside salespeople. It was to the point that it took about 3.5 months for my inside people said, hey, we want this product line back. Not because the product's always been pretty good, but we like this guy. We want to give him some of our business. So I think at the end of the day, people do business with people. I think that maybe I'll ask you guys, is that kind of a lost skill to get that connection now, sort of in the age of social media and the age of not being able to just walk in on a Friday afternoon and see everybody?
Well, I think one of the things is you see it. You mentioned social media. I think we live in a society of such like an instant gratification, in terms of like, if I post this, I need to get this many views or this many likes, this much engagement, almost like that fulfillment, the immediate, that kind of just, I wouldn't even call it playing the long game, but just building a relationship. Like it takes time. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. Everybody wants to buy something. Nobody wants to be sold. Because you get sold something, you feel like a schmuck.
Yeah.
Like that just is it. So kind of like what you described there, that art of just building a relationship where you're happy. Like you wind up, he flipped the script on everyone, and there's like, I want to do this for this guy. He really doesn't have to try to get him to do it. So
right. No, I think there's a lot to that. And I think we all know too, intuitively, when somebody's kind of slick and they're trying to do something to us, right, versus help us. And I think the other thing too is that knowing that there are enough customers out there. I mean, it's a little bit like, Aaron, you can relate to this. I'm going to take a jab at Aaron right now. It's a little bit like if you're the guy at the bar and you're desperate. You have no luck with the women. They sense that desperation, and it's like they're just not interested. No matter how handsome you are, right? And I think it's the same way in sales and business. Is that we want to do a business with people that don't need to do business with us, but want to do business with us. And so I think that really comes from you used a great term, Brent, which is sort of playing the long game. And I think you play the long game to a certain point. In other words, my biggest expense as a distributor, Aaron, you can probably relate to this, and Brent, I know you guys can too. One of our biggest expenses is salespeople, right? And, back when I first got involved, it was pretty easy. I could walk in any hospital, any school board or whatever. I could get access to people. I could get in. I could be effective. But now if you're paying salespeople just to walk around and try to get into spaces they can't get into, it's a very, very expensive thing. So, as a salesperson, you have to be respectful of the people that are paying you your salary. You can't waste time. So you have to be effective. And, how do you become effective is like a key piece. I know, for example, on the industrial plants with my guys, salespeople, is like, you can't get in an industrial plant. They won't even tell you who you need to see. If you're lucky, there's a guard gate, but the guard won't tell you who the maintenance supervisor is, certainly won't give you his phone number. If you dial up, you get, enter the person's, extension. But if you don't know who it is, you're not getting in, right? So what do you do with that? Because the vendors, you got to get in. So, I mean, literally, dude, we've adopted tactics like waiting outside the plant. And as people drive out for lunch, we find out where they go to lunch, right? I mean, there's one technique, and you go to the restaurant, you start asking questions, and then maybe you meet somebody. That's one technique. Another technique is, if you've got other people that are in the same area, you find out if they know anybody at the plant. Another technique is, hey, reach out to other people that sell other products and say, hey, do you have a connection here? And you help each other get in. I can get you into this plant if you can get me into this plant. So, desperate times calls for, different approaches. And
I would say innovative methods.
Yes, for sure. So, Brent, you work with one of the best salespeople I know. Dana Haggerty is your sales manager, and Aaron, you're one of the most innovative, salespeople I know. Let's talk about some innovative approaches that you guys have either had happen to you, or somebody's reached you that wasn't able to reach you, or something that you use to reach a client that our community might be able to use.
Geez, Aaron, I think you're going to have to take that. Dana keeps that under lock and key, all of her sales secrets. To be honest with you, Dana's been at it for such a long time, and she's done what she's done really great that I've been able to see is that long game, which is that's part of Ntek's deal. It's anybody can sell someone one time. If you don't provide the value, if you don't follow through, that, and even if you do that, and the person that bought from you doesn't like you, it's not going to last over the long term. So what her and her team have done a great job of is building relationships and then maintaining them. I mean, you've been Eric, how long have you been in the industry?
Dude, I'm embarrassed to tell you, but I'm going on 40 years here.
Yeah. So how many people did you meet, like my dad in the early 80s, and you maintain those relationships, over a 30-year, 30-year period, and people move around, but they stay in the industry. And if they like you, they're going to take you with them.
Well, that's so true. And I got to tell you, the one thing you trade off of, the currency you trade off, that's more important than your technical knowledge, more important than anything else, is your integrity, right? Because news travels fast. So I tell my folks, hey, anybody can be a great vendor where there are no problems. Okay. Where you establish that connection, that link, is when a customer has a problem and you step up to the plate, even if it's not your problem. The last words out of your mouth need to be, this is the loser's philosophy. Well, read the manual, or really, sir, that's your problem, not ours, or I can't help you with that. If you ever get a call from any customer, whether it's your product or another product that you're trying to break into, and you can say, let me see if I can help, that's where those relationships come in, because that's what they're going to remember. They remember you if at 4:00 in the morning on a Saturday, morning, when Aaron's still, out partying, and they've got a problem, and you pick the phone up and you're able to go down and help them out. That's where you build those long-lasting relationships, right? So, agree or disagree, guys?
That's funny. I just I picture Aaron in an Uber at 4 a.m. after staying out all night, showing up at somebody's building. Might not be very effective, but hey.
But he'll get it done, right?
No, you don't want to do that. If you're not in control, man. Not in control. You don't want to be showing up like that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
When you're selling software, and there's concerts around every once in a while, you can show up, and as long as you're clear and keeping your integrity and being honest about it, man. I don't know. I think it is what it is to me.
All right, Aaron. As long as we're truth telling now, okay. Let's tell a little truth to our audience now. So it's 9:32 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday morning, and we let you sort of slide with them. I'm driving to my in-laws' house. Tell the truth now. Are you sure you're just not out at the tail end of a Friday night party? And it sounds like you're in an Uber to me.
No, I'm say hello.
I'm Aaron's wife, and I'm driving.
So no, I'm off the hook. I'm an honest guy.
Oh well, not only is your wife beautiful, she's smart. The fact that she's driving, but hey, it's nice to meet you. Say hi to the Control Trends community and introduce yourself, because Aaron is fairly newly married. What, you guys got a year anniversary coming up?
Just past a year.
Congratulations, guys.
There
That's
you
awesome.
go.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So our Control Trends community is dying to know, what's it like to be married to Aaron?
It's always interesting.
So, all right, I'm getting the text lines lighting up. Somebody wants to know, does he snore?
Does he snore?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
After too much whiskey, I'm going to snore for sure.
What's his worst habit that he would not want the Control Trends community to know about?
I don't even know.
Well, you'll know by year 2 for sure, and by year 3, you'll probably be in therapy. So, trust me on that.
Hey, I gotta ask because Aaron's told me that he kind of did the thing. Have you guys ever seen the movie Dazed and Confused?
I think I've lived Dazed and Confused, but I haven't seen the movie.
Oh gosh, man! There's this part in there, Matthew McConaughey. Or basically, he's the guy that graduated school probably 5 or 6 years ago. But then he keeps hanging around it. And, he's the older guy. And he's like, they just stay the same age. And it was kind of funny. It makes me think of Aaron, because I heard that's how you guys linked up. He just kept coming back around to school.
Yeah, he couldn't leave Brock, so eventually he met his wife.
Well, that's really.
It keeps getting better. I keep getting older. They stay the same age.
That's it.
So I got to ask: was it love at first sight?
No.
I know it was for you, not for you, but was it for Aaron?
Oh yeah, hot redheads standing out in the class. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
It was love at first conversation. Once I realized that Aaron was a great conversationalist, because it's a competition of who can talk more, me or him. So it's good.
Good. Well, you'll have to stay on the podcast then.
Yeah.
So we'll monitor that as we go along. But, Aaron, I haven't given you a chance. If our community you might not know, Aaron, among other things, runs Ant Technologies. And tell our community you might not know what Ant does.
Ant Technologies, an operational software to run your control HVAC service business. There's a service tracker. There's a project tracker. They do work pretty good together. We're making them work even better and better all the time. We build features every single week. We launch new functions, and sometimes it breaks it, but usually we fix it faster than anybody else ever. That'll fix your software. That I can guarantee. We work hard with contractors. We built it in our own contracting company, Aeron HVAC and Control out of Toronto. We're the second biggest Honeywell ACI in Canada. DMA Applied Partners in Regina, in Saskatchewan. They always win. So yeah, great wicked software for HVAC control contractors.
Okay, so obviously you guys eat your own dog food, so to speak, because you use the software that you develop, and you guys are contractors. So
yes.
Okay, so all right, you just got to ask the question. Why does it matter? Why do I need your software if I'm a contractor?
Well, everybody out there's got a way of managing a project and a service, and their services. It might not be the best way, they know that, but it works good enough for them. Where it really makes a difference is when you're in shit, right? When your customer calls and there's a big problem, saying your guys were just there or were there 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and if you can't find that information for that customer fast, you start to sweat the bucket. Now you get into some big trouble, say a project goes into a lien or hits legal and you're not organized, you got to stop your whole business and your whole value towards your business to get organized, to keep yourself out of trouble. And if you don't have a clear, easy way of doing that all the time, either for the trouble or for the daily, I mean, your daily, you have a flow anyway, you're at huge risk in your business.
Got you. So as a teacher of mine once said, in God we trust, and all else get documentation. So it seems like you guys make the documentation process pretty effortless.
Oh yeah. Well, it's the whole purpose of it is that every time anybody does something, it's saved into a database structure, which, that makes sense to everybody. So it's searchable. And the magic of it is how easy it is for the guy in the field to do it. Right. And when most people possibly listening to this are in the office, and from the office, you're still in air conditioning, you're in a comfy chair, you got 3 monitors. It's, you can do anything. It doesn't really matter to you how you organize, because you have your way. But in the field, all you got is a phone, maybe a tablet. The laptops are kind of heavy and bulky unless, you really need Niagara on it. Right. But you still got one screen, maybe two, if you use your phone and your tablet in conjunction. So that's where the magic is getting it from the field back into searchable land easily.
So what's the secret sauce for you guys? Because when you talk about documentation, I think about Salesforce and having to do a lot of extra work and so on and so forth. I mean, even though that would save time down the line, but to your point, if I'm in the field, did you take that into effect or to account when you develop this? Is it easy to input the data or?
Oh yeah. That was how we started with our HVAC service division, building it to make sure ultimately it worked for them, and that's the big difference in how our development approach. And Salesforce and these companies like that, they don't really apply to what I don't think how it works for an HVAC tech or a building automation tech or electrician out in the field. We're talking about points and terminating them and programming them and building a graphic based on them and showing things and manipulating them. You need something that actually applies to that, right? So when you're clicking and doing what you're already doing, you're documenting it live. So what you did yesterday, or forever, right? when you capture things daily, it takes 5 minutes to update. When you're capturing it, weekly, it takes hours.
Yeah. So you just get in the habit of doing all the thing. And I think if you think about it from a business perspective, what I'm hearing is, first of all, it saves money because if you've got a process it's easy to do and your team buys into, and everybody's doing it the same way, you're capturing all the data points so that you're not forgetting something. So you're getting everything billed properly, and you're reducing the amount of time it takes to find things. So you're not scrambling at the end of the month to try to get the billables done or whatever. But there's another sort of hidden thing here, I think comes in, which is, Brent, I'm going to ask you to speak to this too, because I think you actually use this technology, is that, at the end of the day, it's still competitive out there, right? So, if you can respond quicker and offer better technical support, which I think one of the factors that would be speed. We've talked about that before, because time is money, right? We all are looking for the quicker answers. And if you can provide your customers with quicker answers because you've got a more efficient process, then you're going to get the added benefit of people thinking these guys provide great tech support. Brent, does that resonate? And how are you guys using it?
So yeah, as Eric alluded to, I'm not only Aaron's friend, co-host, I'm also a client.
The dirty truth comes out, right?
Exactly.
Well, we're going to ask Aaron's wife how organized he is in a minute. So get ready for that one.
I was about to say, Aaron. Yeah. I'd like to point out first off, I bought from Aaron. He did not sell me. So,
yes.
It's true. He did buy it. Yes. That's the way it goes. Everybody that bought it buys it. I don't. You can't jam a software down somebody's throat anyway. No, right? And if it's gonna work, you got to be a friend anyway because you're working together. So that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's the gosh. That was funny. When you do like technical presentations or demos for people, you're like, okay, I got this really slick solution, and we're gonna drive them through a controlled environment. And Aaron shows up to the office, sitting in my dad's office with me and my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I know this guy, man, Aaron. He's got this project management software. Check it out. I think it'll help us out." So he's like, "Okay." Aaron comes in, and then one of those things he mentioned earlier, they were doing some type of software update to it, and completely had the site just like down, crashed it, like they were updating it. So Aaron's just sitting in there looking at him, and I'm looking at my dad, and I don't really know Aaron very well at all. I'm just like, oh man, I don't know about this guy. Here, watch this 45-second video that I made on Ant.
Nice.
Yeah, give me a minute here. Let me make a phone call, and we sorted it out, right?
Yeah. So,
but it sort of gets back to if you can troubleshoot it in front of somebody. I mean, if the demo goes perfect, you never know, how resourceful they're going to be if there's a problem. So you got to see Aaron live troubleshoot the problem and fix it, right?
Yeah, well,
I absolutely always go live. I have no belief. I don't like PowerPoint if I can avoid them. And with the software, it's got to be live because they got to see where the problems are. Otherwise, you're hiding, right? And you can't hide with software. They're going to find it. They're going to be mad.
Yeah. So one of the things we kind of talked about earlier, Aaron mentioned, and how fast that, if something does happen, there is a crash, how they're going to get it up fast. They constantly make changes. That's one of the attractive things that I like about Ant. And we use it for our project side. We use Project Tracker. And the thing that I like about using the software, working with Aaron and his team, is that speed and the agility, the fact that if you need request a change, it can be done fairly quickly. Like when you have one of these big, a giant software package like a Salesforce or a Show Manager or something, it's kind of like trying to redirect the Titanic when you're looking at the iceberg. It's going to take a long freaking time before you ever see it, if you ever see it. And I don't know if you saw the movie, didn't go well.
So
Aaron's got a speedboat over there, and the second he turns the wheel, you should see some pretty immediate action. But
and unlike Kate Winslet, when she says, "I'll never let go," Aaron won't let go, right? I mean, that's the thing about that movie. Remember when he's on the log or whatever, and she's in the water and she's on the log, and she goes, "I'll never let go," and about a half a second later, she lets go and he drowns, right? Aaron will not let go, right? Right, Aaron?
100%.
Yo, no. No, on that. If you look closely at that photo, there's room for two on that door. I'm getting on that door. I
don't know. I kind of see a parallel there. Wasn't Kate Winslet a redhead in that movie?
I was getting up on that door. I'll tell you what. Not leaving my redhead behind.
Pushing her off.
Well, hey guys, listen, Aaron, I'm going to do a quick edit point here. So, Aaron, do me a favor. When you're not talking, can you mute yourself? Because we're hearing your car stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, no big deal. Just
I don't know how to,
just on your phone. On your phone, right?
Am I muted?
No.
Oh, shit, I don't know.
All right, I'll mute you here then. But if you,
Am I muted now?
No.
No.
Because we can still hear you. When we don't answer, you're muted.
Tell us an extremely, a secret you've never told anyone, and we'll see if you're on mute. Stayed in the car.
Listen. I can mute you here from here, Aaron. So it's not a big deal. Okay, that was kind of a cool segue. So now, Mrs. Gorka, the question everybody wants to know is, how organized is Aaron at home?
Oh, at home. Well, yes, he's very organized with his work things, but the laundry not a very organized thing for Aaron Gorka.
Okay,
that's true.
So
very true.
So like he wears the same clothes every day and forgets to wash them, or he just
no.
We want
the
details.
clean pile of laundry just stays on our spare bed until he's all dirty, and then he just washes it again and never gets put away.
I throw it back on the bed.
I don't see what the problem is with that. I'm not sure what you're complaining about.
Yeah, Aaron's washing. If he's doing the laundry, then wow. That's awesome.
He does do the laundry. Doesn't get put away though.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to get an annual report on how things are going in the Gorka marriage, and that's pretty impressive that he's doing laundry. So, Aaron, congratulations on that, brother. But
there you go.
But I think it gets back to, and I want to sort of segue a little bit to you guys, because you guys do a great podcast called Next Generation Innovation. And Aaron, on your last one, you did just an incredible talk on change management. And could tell our community a little bit about that. It's actually posted on Control Trends. And tell us about the change management talk.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of backtrack story. At Brock University, where I graduated, they do programs called service learning, where instead of in the business school studying Google or Lululemon or big companies, they work with local independent, contractors or companies, right? So when I was going through school, I thought it was a great idea. And then when I finished, I got right in on it as a client. It's actually how Charlotte and I met, was in this professor. We just got to go with Dr. Dave. Booganoogie, I think is how you say his last name, but Dr. Dave. And change management was a course that I really focused in and I really enjoyed. So he brought me back after a few years of leading change initiatives and having made plans for our company, Aeron, to grow and how to evolve into basically from a $5 million company ultimately to a $20 million company. We were only about 20 employees at the time, and we're at 65 now, and we're not quite on track on the financial goal, but overall as an organization and a people change perspective, we've done very well. So the professor basically brought me back in to talk to a bunch of, I think it was MBA students, it might have been BBA, I don't know, but master's or bachelor level business class. The change management I focused on kind of 4 areas because I hadn't had much time to prepare for it. And it was around industry change that we've seen in HVAC control, so the big picture stuff, kind of contractor specific portions like that Aeron saw, very specific to what we do. And also what happens when Ant goes into a contractor and how that contractor then evolves from a change management perspective, and struggles and key points that you need to be aware of. One point correction in it is right at the very beginning, I say fence sitters are the people you need to remove in your organization in the change initiative. It's not true. It's resistors. Ultimately, if you set the direction of an organization and people or individuals, no matter how long they've been with you, are resisting that change, sometimes you need to make a change, and that person needs to leave the organization. And it's resistors where that happens, not fence sitters. Fence sitters can be your power players.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember hearing that in the beginning of the thing. It was like the fence sitters, get rid of them. I was like, man, that's harsh.
Yeah, it was the resistors, get rid of them. And it is harsh and it sucks. It may suck, but it's a very important thing. Gosh,
do you remember completely like a different segue? I'm not sure what made me what made me think of it. You guys seen the movie Happy Gilmore, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Gosh, I'm picturing Aaron Gorka as the orderly Ben Stiller, and then you got a fence sitter, the old lady saying, "My fingers hurt." Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna hurt. You just pulled landscaping duty.
Nice. Well, no, it is very interesting when you think about the fence sitter. So how much of that, Aaron, is in, I mean, how do you know when somebody's a fence sitter or not? I mean, how much time do you give them? So you come in and you're doing change management. How long do you give them before you decide? I mean, how much is that on the imparting your vision and getting people on board, leadership's responsibility, and how much of that, how do you know when somebody's a fence sitter and a resistor versus somebody that you just hadn't sold the vision to?
In my experience with it, it's actually, it can happen fairly obviously. The fence sitter, like, there's going to be people who champion it right away, that jump right onto it. They believe in it. They know it's going to help, and they're your champion. Resistors are typically going to be a little bit older, on the older side, probably in accounting, honestly, because, when you're in accounting, it's very particular. And they like it their way, right? And again, they've been doing it their way for a long time, typically. So they're very concerned about what you're bringing into their office. That's usually the first grasp of a resistor. The fence sitter is going to be probably into the decision maker side of things that, is just fearing that change that little bit. And going, well, this is a lot of money. What do I do with it? Should I do it, kind of thing? And at that point, that's when you got to really work on the vision, or give them time, right? Build trust is essentially it. Take the sales hat off and turn it backwards and become a friend.
Right. And I think you got to kind of be careful too, at least in my experience over the years, is sometimes your resistors are giving you really good feedback. So it's almost like you have to create a culture where it's safe to speak out and disagree, right? Otherwise people just go, well, I don't want to be labeled a resistor because he's going to get rid of me or she's going to get rid of me, right? So at what point does somebody go from being, offering an alternative, brave opinion that maybe you don't want to hear, but it's useful feedback, to being labeled a resistor?
Ultimately, the leader needs to be, poised and calm and in control of that kind of scenario, and understand, if you're a great leader, you're going to be respectful and open-minded to everybody's ideas. So let's just be framing this box here. It's really important to always be open-minded to work with everybody's ideas.
Yeah.
At very least, what you need to deal with, what you need to say is, there might not be time for this right now. You need to address it. You need to talk one-on-one with that person and make sure that, there's good reasons and they understand why you're not hearing them. Because you will lose. You don't want to lose resistors necessarily, right? It's when it gets to the point where at your sense in the leader, you've done everything you can with it. You've talked to them. You've moved past it. Time has gone by, and they're hung up on it, and they're just not buying in.
Yeah.
And it becomes an evident cancer side of things.
Gotcha.
And at that point, it's not good for either person, right? Ultimately, because they're not going to be satisfied no matter what now. So even if you've made mistakes along the way as a leader and you've found yourself in that scenario, that's one given. The other one, you've done an impeccable, excellent job as a leader, and you need to make a change.
So, Aaron, what I'm hearing you say is that if you sort of addressed an issue and you keep having to address the same issue over and over and over again, even though that person's been heard and you've listened to them and you've taken it in, and they know you've been heard because you've maybe repeated it back a couple of times. But after the second or third time, you're kind of going, okay, we don't need to cover this ground again. You're a resistor.
when you start to impede the vision of the organization, ultimately negatively, again, framed with a strong leader, that's doing the right things, right? And you have a clear vision, and other teammates are buying in.
Yeah.
Now, and there's, that's the moment. And again, it's evident. It may hurt in your heart and your gut, because there's a lot of, typically with a heavy resistor, it's not going to be they're passionate about it because they've spent a lot of time with you.
Right.
So that's where it can get hard. But, sometimes you need to get over that as your organization. Organizations are not, you should never be, if you're set up well, you should try to never be too reliant on one person no matter what, right? Because a bus can come by and hit them, for example, right? Not to be morbid, but that's, if you're dreaming of a business, right? Yeah, you got to be prepared, right? You're in a war, right? We're generals in a war out there, right? And at least from a business perspective, right? So you can't be, if your organization feels that reliant on them, then you're stuck on that, right?
Aaron, I got to ask. You said something there about the generals and having people step in. If a bus comes by and hits you, who's stepping up for you? Who do I need to get in contact with?
My friend Steve from the office.
Steve from the office. All right.
You need to call our core business line, and he's your guy to start.
Okay, cool. I really like what you're saying there, and talking about the resistors, and then ultimately the change, because any business that has ultimately grown or had to change with the marketplace, first off, if you haven't changed with the marketplace, you have to be out of business. It's inevitable. But everybody kind of faces that, not necessarily that they're in, they don't even have to be in a technological software field for this type of innovation, but you grow and you take in these growing pains, and humans we're naturally resistant to change. There's something in our brains. It's a self-preservation thing. Like this, there's danger out there. We know this. Yeah. We need to stick in this. So I think
if it ain't broke, don't fix it type mentality, right?
Exactly. But to get to the next level, ultimately, I think it comes down to good communication between the top of the overall vision. That's why the vision and the goal needs to be clear to everyone, because then it helps the struggle make sense. As we're currently right here, if we're going to get to this point, here's what has to happen. Not that you're not going to have to take a step or two back in order to make that leap, make that jump. But I think that's one of the big things in leadership, is having people. You mentioned accounting, Aaron, people that are very set into their structure and their ways, and having your champions as like the leaders of those department. It kind of something you alluded to with your generals. Like, ultimately, I think those have got to be your generals. If you've got the head of accounting, you got the head of administration, service, and software, and say, look, here's the direction we're going. Here's why we're doing it. And you've got to champion this to your people. Right. Because if your generals or your leaders in those areas are talking down on it, there is nobody in that department that has any type of, they're not going to do it. And then I think that's at the point, I would say it's easier to deal with the resistors down the line. That's something that I think that can be, dealt with more, and chances are lower down. But when you have one of your leaders that you can't drive it into, and that they just continue to resist, I think that's where you hit that problem, and you can really see that cancer.
No, you're right. If leadership's not buying in, then you got to go back and resell the vision. I know in our company, one of the things, and again, I really, really welcome diverse opinion. So it's a safe space to speak out against something. But one of the criteria for us is, if you're going to criticize something, then have another solution or an alternative way to do it. Just to say this doesn't work and it sucks doesn't fly in our company. Right. So, hey, this doesn't work because of this, and here's something we could do differently. Okay, and then that sparks, to me, positive conversation, and also sparks innovation. That's where innovation comes from. Because if you can't go after something that's not working, if it's not safe to do that, But then if it's okay just to criticize and not have something else to the table, because criticizing is the easiest thing in the world, right? I mean, you could just sit there and I can find fault in anything, and so can you, and so can everybody else. Finding fault's not enough, so you can find fault, but then have a better solution. I'm interested. If you're just finding fault, I don't need you for that. You're a resistor. You don't need to be on the team. You're getting off the bus at the next stop. Right, Aaron? I think Aaron found his mute button. Yes, he did.
I did find my mute button.
He's so innovative, that Aaron Gorka. He is great.
All I had to do was hit back. It was a really easy solution, that one.
I know you resisted that at first, but I'm glad you came around.
He did. So Aaron is going to. But guys, listen, you guys, Next Generation Innovations, the podcast you guys do, it's fantastic. You guys got an episode that's going to drop next week talking about change and innovation and innovative companies. You guys interviewed Kim Brown from Cochrane Supply. Again, we'll be posting that next week on ControlTalk. Talk about that episode of Next Generation Innovation, guys.
Gosh, Aaron, you want to start?
Yep. It was so fun. Kim is like one of the most fun people in the whole industry to hang out with. She's so insightful. She's seen it all from a very good perspective and a holistic one, especially from distribution. She's now heading up Cochrane Supply's whole tech team. She's the manager there. And I'll tell you what, that team, we work heavily with them the same way you guys would with Stromquist, like Eric and Brent. And they're just so awesome in there, and Kim brings a great perspective to change and a little bit of fun along the way. And I think we even cracked into like what it's like to be a woman in the industry. I think we did.
Yeah, I have to say that was probably one of, if not the funnest interviews that, or it wasn't even an interview. It was an awesome conversation, and her story is so cool, talking about how she got started in the industry, how she progressed, got out, came back, and then kind of her journey, and then how it keeps going. Like, I was really just fascinated to kind of sit there and just listen to her and listen to the processes they take on, how they embrace really taking care of the employee. That was a huge thing that I got out of it. The focus that they put on developing people in their inside their organization to best serve their customers. I know sometimes it'll be, the customer's always first. And absolutely, it's got to be kind of like 1A and 1B. But if you're completely focused on, the end result, was it something about the carrot and the horse, or the horse and the wagon? There's something in there with that. But they do a great job of, from what she was telling us, of developing their people, communicating that vision, and then getting the feedback. So it really was. It was a lot of fun talking to her.
How did they deal with resistors? Did she talk about that? Did Scott Cochrane takes them out back and shoots them, or what's the deal with resistors with them?
I think they had some type of Jedi program, so they might just take lightsabers they develop and just chop them up. I don't know.
Nice.
Ultimately, Cochrane's a great example with a strong culture, and the resistors ultimately there. They lead. They find their own way out.
Very cool. So they self-opt out. Sort of thing, yeah. But it is a great organization. We've talked a lot. Kenny and I have a lot about Cochrane Supply and a couple other distributors, and how they've sort of have reinvented themselves to deal with all the changes that are coming about. And change is definitely afoot in our industry. And I'm going to ask you, Aaron. I'm going to ask you, Brent, too. What are you seeing in terms of changes that's surprising you, or that's accelerating, or that you guys are paying attention to because you go, okay, this is here, and we have to change along with this?
We're watching our economy real close, actually, and we're looking at a lot of things to do within buildings, like a lot of upgrades or cleaning kind of tactics, or duct sealing, like internal duct sealing. There's new technologies out for that. So we're looking internal in our client base and looking at ways that we can find just ways to make money, but also to provide value throughout our customers. I took a certified energy manager course. I'm hoping to become a certified energy manager, but it's all about looking inside the buildings right now for us.
I gotcha. Yeah, that that ultimately, the thing that I always try to pay attention to is, kind of look in our portion of the business, the primary one I work in, the controls, and say, okay, what are the decisions? What are the factors that are driving the decisions that they're going to have to make? Why are they doing the things that they're going to do, so that we can best position ourselves to be that solutions provider, or if we need to change course, with offerings kind of like Aaron's talking about with the duct sealing or things like that. Because just, showing up every day and doing what you've done for 5-10 years, that's great, but you're going to you're going to miss the boat, or, when the next wave comes, you're not going to be ready.
Brent, I think it's really interesting too, because you sort of are at the ground level, right? I mean, you're actually doing an installation, the programming, and actually the reality of the system in the building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dana and the rest of the team, they're dealing with the people in the C-suite, the consulting engineers, and, and I think you guys would both agree there's the theory about how something should work and the reality about how something should work. And I want to sort of ask you this question. Are you seeing there being a delta between the theory about what customers are asking for in the C-suite and the engineers are asking for, and the reality of what the people are actually needing in the day-to-day that are actually using the system day-to-day?
Yeah, I think sometimes you'll run into that. When you go from the C-suite and then engineering, and sometimes that can run into things of, buzzwords and things really, like we talked about earlier, getting sold. And then when it comes down to the practical application of what the building needs or the engineering team needs to fulfill the the company's overall objectives, you can kind of have that delta that you're talking about. Or, you come down, you get the delta in between what I want and what the budget is. That's sometimes a very large one there. But I would say, there are some times where I swear they'll look at a job and they'll just be like, oh yeah, you just need to do this, this, and this. And then in theory, everything is, when everything's done right, it's not that hard. It's relatively simple. But if you don't have, the biggest thing that I've seen in buildings that we've either gone to take over or where we've had to, stop projects and be like, look, stop, slow down, is the quality assurance. Like if your quality assurance, and I will tell you at the base level of your installation, if you don't have great quality assurance, then nothing is, it's never going to work. You can't build on a poor foundation.
Right. Well, and quality assurance also gets back to documentation, right? Which Aaron's got.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Brent's talking about that. We've actually kind of formed an internal QA team, with a couple, sharp folk, and the timing of when to get them in is kind of what we're massaging out now, just getting better at tagging them in and getting them into your building to scope through and massaging, how to do that best effectively. Right. But we're using our documents, like the software to document the whole thing, and it works.
Well, and that's what I do with the, so I've got a project right now where I'm kind of being the installation foreman, doing the programming, doing the project management, and all that. And that's what I do every day. I go in there, I get the reports from everybody, and what we've been doing in the field, all the commissioning stuff, any notes, and I go to Project Tracker and I hit it all. And so I get everything in there, and I have to do it every 1 to 2 days, because otherwise the things, they stack up, they get lost. And then you wind up, if you lose, 40 to 80 hours, just in terms of that QA or really staying on top of it, you wind up chasing it a long time down the road. And that's just not a good look.
Gotcha. And Aaron, that's where you come in, right, buddy?
That's about it. No, I don't need to come in anymore. He's got it handled. He calls me up when he needs some help with something or something's being weird with it.
Well, what I meant was that's where your software kind of fits very nicely, because again, it seems like you guys are definitely customized for the guys that are doing the work like Brent does, which is a lot of our audience. So
I'll tell you that when Aaron first brought the software to us, The project tracker software, it was task driven. Check off the task, it gets done, and then it tallies up a completion percentage. And one of our big things was with the length of these control projects and maybe how many hours get put into them. It was like, I need to see how many tasks we're getting done, but I need to see how long it's taking us, so that if I'm 20% into the project completion wise and I'm 50% into the hours, there's a major red flag there. And they were able, I think probably within a month of us meeting with Aaron and then get signed up for the software, they had the hours function on there, and they've continued to work out any bugs or anything. And it really helps us with more of our workload, our progress tracking, and then our workload forecasting. So,
well, that's really cool. And I got to tell you, if Kenny Smyers was here right now, we would probably play a little game, Aaron, we like to call Let's Make a Controls Deal. So for our audience out there who might be interested in playing Let's Make a Deal with Aaron Gorka and Ant Technologies, if they were to reach out and respond with the code Browns go to the Super Bowl, what kind of discount would you be willing to give them on their first purchase?
I didn't know about this game.
Most people don't until they get on the show. That's why.
Man, I would do some kind of training discount.
You got to do better than that, Aaron. Come on.
How about some kind of training discount? Yeah, that gets me excited.
Come on, Aaron. You're a salesperson. Come on now. Think on your feet.
I don't know. I'd rather have somebody call me and work out a good deal, because I don't think anybody's going to call me over it. Nobody's done it yet. So I'd like somebody to prove me wrong first and then get a real good deal.
Well, how about the next 3 people that reach out and actually purchase your product and say Browns go to the Super Bowl get to be your guest at the Control Trends Awards?
Oh, yeah. Now we're thinking. This is teamwork. Okay.
The resistant guy came up with an idea. All right. I get to stay on the team, hopefully. So, well, speaking of that, fellas, so you guys are doing the Young Guns Awards this year, and talk about that. Talk about the Young Guns. Do you guys have any candidates yet? How's that going to work? You guys are going to be in the Super Bowl Control Trends Awards extravaganza in Orlando, February 2nd. You guys pumped up about it? You guys got some plans? What's going to happen?
Absolutely. I already alluded to what we're going to be doing after the Controls Trends Awards and who we're going to be watching.
And Aaron's paying for the Uber. So if you buy Aaron's software between now and the Control Trends Awards, he will be personally responsible for your Uber. And if you do get thrown in jail, Aaron will bail you out. How's that for an offer?
There you go.
And we're changing from Browns go to the Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
Wild night. I don't know.
Well, you don't know about a wild night. Give me a break. And so we're changing from Browns go to the Super Bowl to Aaron get me out of jail. That will be the code. And if you buy the software and use that, then Aaron will be responsible for you at the Control Trends Awards. He's gone silent.
Well, hey, at least the industry is getting older. At least, you know.
I don't know. So that's an interesting thing. So Eric hit me up earlier in the week. Talking about young guns, young people in the industry. Eric hit me up with a guy earlier in the week, and he sent me an email yesterday. I got to get in touch with him. And it was basically about getting into the control industry, kind of what it's about, what it's like, the barriers and the process. And then he was like, hey, I'm going to have you reach out to Brent. He's a young guy in the industry. And I'm like, damn, man, I used to be. I just turned 30 last week.
I didn't tell him that. Don't tell him that.
Yeah, I'm 30 years old. He's going to be like, oh, man, you don't
Happy
get
birthday, brother.
Thanks, man.
Happy belated birthday. Yeah, wicked. Woohoo.
Yeah, I tell you what, Aaron, that's, salespeople got to know their customers' birthdays. That's bad on you, man.
Well, I was going to ask you, yeah, that's right. It should be in the software someplace, right? Automatically send Brent a birthday bottle of scotch or something, right? But when was your birthday, Brent? Was it yesterday or when was it?
No, it was last Sunday, October 27th. That was another one I had all planned out for a Browns victory, and unfortunately they didn't come through. But
yeah, I got you. The Browns and the Falcons are the two most talented, on paper teams that can't win a game, but the Browns are winning more than the Falcons are. So.
You know what's funny is when we had that interview with Kim Brown.
Yes.
I was giving her crap about the Lions because they've been so bad, and now if you put the Browns and the Falcons wins together, it might not equal the Lions.
I think you're right about that.
I'm sorry.
But sort of getting back to Brent's point about, we've all been out, at different places, and you meet somebody and they just got a certain spark about them, right? So I go to this infrared spa place, like 155 degrees for 40 minutes, right? So there's this cat there named Dylan, and Dylan is just these great customer service, really cool. We get to talk, and he's talking about, his goal is, to build smart homes. That's what he wants to do. So we talk a little bit about that, and he goes, well, you do something with homes. So he said, no, I do, building automation controls. And we get to talking about it. His eyes get as big as saucers. He goes, your industry does this, and it does that, and it does this. And he's just fascinated by the whole thing. He goes, yeah, how do I get in? And I said, okay, well, I got a guy you should talk to. He can hear what you're about and talk to you about it. And then another person there, they get to talk, and you got all these young people that are learning computer stuff and all kinds of stuff and don't know what to do. And they hear about our industry and they're going, holy smokes, this is incredible. I could affect the environment. I could do this. I don't have to be in a cubicle farm. I don't have to do this kind of stuff. So I don't think it's that they're not really qualified people out there that could be qualified, could be great additions to our industry. I think it's just they don't know about our industry, which is, part of why we have the young guns, right? And the young guns are basically younger people in our industry that we recognize at the Control Trends Awards, and that Aaron and Brent are going to specifically recognize with the 2019 class of young guns.
Yeah, I think we should throw out here now some nominations. If anybody has young people in their organizations that they want to nominate for it, throw them out there, because we can't catch everybody, and if you leave it to us, we're just gonna pick the people we know. You know what I mean? So throw. Maybe we can do some reach out, and Eric, maybe when you guys do your nominations for the actual awards, we could have a young gun spot there even.
Well, what the nomination ballot is out, and we don't have something on that because that's usually being selected, but that's not a bad idea. We might update the ballot for that, but again, we kind of know those young people in the organizations that do it. Both you guys were young guns. That's how you guys got started. And part of being a young gun is that you'll be a guest on Next Generation Innovation, which is what you guys are also trying to do. Because again, part of it is we're trying to shine the superstar spotlight on these young people, so they look at our industry and go, well, I can get recognized. If I do some good things early on in my career, I don't have to wait till I'm retired to get recognized. I can get recognized, early on. And what was it like for you guys to be young guns? What was that experience like for you?
It was, to be honest, it was unexpected. I didn't know that I was going to have to go up on stage until I got there.
Yeah. And
I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I didn't wear my jeans and my jersey or something.
Yeah, which you can this year because it's a Super Bowl party, so you can this year. But
exactly, I went in 1 year too early.
Yeah. But what about you, Aaron? What was it like for you?
I loved it. I thought it was such a cool. My dad came with me to Chicago, and it was just such a nice, proud moment to get to share with him too. And it was cool to be up in front of everybody that I'd been, kind of working to meet and make friends with the hand side, and because a lot of the CGA members are there. So it was awesome for me. It was like I set it out the year before as a goal when I saw the class before in Vegas get inducted, and I was like, I want to do that next year. And then I did. So it was a huge accomplishment. I was really proud.
Well, you should be, Aaron. You guys are both great additions to our industry. You guys are doing really, really good stuff out there. And sort of as we wind down, how do people get hold of you, Brent? Ntek?
Ntek, visit us online, www.ntek-inc.com. You can call our office. You'll be directed to one of our fantastic salespeople, or reach out to Eric.
Yeah.
At whatever method he's currently at, and he'll make sure that you get in touch with the right people. Right,
because if you guys are looking for an integrator to do great work for you in the Georgia area, or you guys do national accounts all across the country. So if you're a national account, that's been one of your guys' strong suits back since I first met your dad. We were doing national accounts together. So you guys the guy Liam Neeson says, and when taken or whatever, I've got a unique skill set, and Ntek has a unique skill set. They can do your national accounts, or they can work with you locally. Great stuff there. And Aaron, how about you, buddy? What's the best way for people to track you down?
Probably LinkedIn, to be honest with you. That's the fast, easy way. I'm on it fairly regularly. AARONG or Gorka, Aaron Gorka. And yeah, message me there. That'll work.
Well, right. And then if somebody wants to get a look at your software, I know you got a pretty good website. Is it anttechnologies.com if they just want to browse around and see what your software is all about?
anttechnologies.ca. ANTTechnologies.ca.
Nice.
I can't. It's too hard to spell that one.
I was about to say, man, what's that school you went to?
Hey, spelling wasn't the highest priority. I'll tell you what. Not with the little red underline nowadays. You just right click it and clean it up.
We'll make sure to put the link in the show notes as well. And then again, stay tuned next week, man. The next episode of Next Generation Innovation with Ken Brown's going to drop, and that is something you guys are going to want to hear. That is well done, boys. Really, really well done. And listen, if you want to be a guest on their show, man, reach out. I mean, they would love to have you on. And you guys are primarily focused on the younger guys. You occasionally let me and Kenny come on, but you guys kind of discriminate against older folks, right?
Only one at a time. we have to keep we got to keep the mean age down. The mean age has to come like under like 42 or something.
Well, there you go. What about you, Aaron? What's your cutoff point for talking to old guys? Keep in mind your dad for the show.
You're right. Yeah, I like the perspective of it. Bring them in and then just flash them back to when they were young folks. If I was anybody that wants to do a flashback trip, then I think that's cool. Back to the old days when they were kids. That's to anybody, really.
Okay, and then listen, I just got a text in with a picture of somebody that's doing like an Alaskan dog sled thing with the big old, head thing on and driving. It looks an awful lot like Kenny Smyer. So I'm wondering if Kenny is like in Alaska doing like an Alaskan dog sled type ride. What do you guys think? You think it could possibly be Kenny?
He's probably taking medicine, penicillin, and everything to a remote village, probably to save lives, just doing God's work.
There is another picture of somebody who looks like Kenny in a priest outfit with Bibles, so maybe he is doing missionary work. I don't know. Aaron, have you seen any pictures that might be Kenny out there doing? Where in the world is Kenny Smyers?
Certainly not in the car driving beside me.
There you go.
I don't know. I'll have to turn on College Game Day here in a minute. You may see that they always got people standing on each other's shoulders, have their shirts off and everything. So right. I will scan the crowd.
Well, he might be at a Pittsburgh game and with the P across it. Yeah, that's right. It's cold enough. He's probably got the shirt on.
I'll tell you what, that would be mighty mean if he was, because Pittsburgh is playing here in Atlanta today.
Oh, that's right.
He could be here and not even tell you.
Well, he would definitely show up and not tell me, because he is definitely the secret agent, man. But hey, listen, guys, thank you so much. That's it. Another episode of Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast with the two young guns, Brent Burrows from Ntek and Aaron Gorka from Ant Technologies. So remember, be bold, stay in control, be nice to a young person this week, because they're probably going to be your boss real soon. So have a great week, and you guys got to go Indeed.
Oh! I thought it was always and stay in control.
Oh no! I changed it. I changed it to be nice to an old person. I'm a young person. He might be your boss one day.
Indeed.
Hey boys, thanks so much. You guys have a great week, and man, be sure to check their podcast out. Dropping this week on ControlTrends.com.